Whew. Okay, so this isn't one of my usual videos, but it is definitely one of my most important. So back in November, I finally got some tasty employment, which means that I now earn my own money. Money earned through my own proper work. And as such, I was finally able to fund a project that I have been planning for years, but never wanted to do without my own money. And that would be building my own PC. Today marks the conclusion of that long and patient wait. For a little over 9 years, I've been stuck with this CyberPower PC GUA 440 pre-built that was pretty much low to mid-tier during its time, and it has since been slowly dying piece by piece. Hell, from the very start, I've had issues with this sussy PSU because it would sometimes shut my PC off randomly. The sad solution I quickly found was that if I disconnected the side panel's case fan, the problem no longer occurred, so from pretty much day one, I could never look inside the PC normally since there was no fancy blue light to show off such a pretty interior. Oh yeah, and these fans got really noisy over time. It's like they're off their axis on startup, especially when the night before was cold for some reason. The rear one completely stopped working, and this top one can be removed with no effort. And apparently this case also had a hot swap bay in the front, which sounded cool, but there never seemed to be an actual cable connected to it, so there was no point. I only mention that because towards the end of 2022, the HDD that came with this bucket of bolts was starting to show signs of degradation, and I had to begin my upgrade process a bit earlier than scheduled. Thank God I got this 1TB Samsung 870 EVO SSD for a nice little discount during a flash sale. Alright, at around the same time, the 60Hz 1080p monitor I had been using as long as this PC also finally died after several attempts to revive it. Capacitors were fully borked. It served me well. Thank you, Insignia. So I also got this pretty sweet 24.5-inch Lenovo G2510 monitor that's also just 1080p, but runs at 144Hz. And man, could I feel the difference. Even though this little sticker notes compatibility with Nvidia's G-Sync, it also claims to work with AMD's FreeSync, which is great to hear in our case. Now then, I think that's enough lore. I say it's time to start what we're all here for, the upgrade. As we go through the build process, I'll be showing this list of all the specs from my original pre-built and revealing their respective successors, with just a brief overview of each part. Let's kick things off with the all-important motherboard. For this build, due to my personal needs, I am ultimately staying Team Red and going with an AM4 motherboard, specifically the ASRock B550 PG Velocita ATX motherboard. I won't go too far into detail with this, as Middle of Nowhere has an excellent video on this motherboard that you can check out, but when taking into consideration the CPU, the case, and potential future upgrades, I felt like this was the right choice for me. Plus, this divine color scheme and its naming inspiration makes my little half-Italian heart happy. While the price was initially a staggering $219.99, I somehow snagged this off Newegg for a criminal $129.99 deal. Right after I bought it, I noticed this motherboard is now out of stock, so yeah, if you saw that, it was me, Barry. When it arrived astonishingly quickly, I immediately noticed the care that went into the packaging, going with a box that's basically twice the width of the original, being generously filled with these nifty bags of air that protected the motherboard in its entirety. The box itself is nice and simple, with the graphics on the back showing off the highlights that really matter, including but not limited to the rear I/O layout, which has a pre-built I/O shield by the way, very nice, and front I/O headers for both USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A and Type C. The Wi-Fi I'm not going to worry about since I don't plan on using that, it's just neat to have. Once you remove these little flaps and get the inner box out of the oddly tight death grip, you will be greeted with a very clean ASRock box that contains the following: the thick multilingual installation guide that I will follow for the whole process, the skinny BIOS manual, a total of 4 SATA cables, ridiculously packaged M.2 screws and standoffs, and this envelope which holds a wacky coaster, nifty Velcro ties, a variety of stickers including some to assist with cable management, and a postcard? Below all this lies the money, the Velocita, found in a nice anti-static bag with some extra zip-tied styrofoam interestingly threaded through some of the ATX holes. And to my utmost joy, I already see from this sticker right here that it indeed has the exact BIOS version needed to use the CPU I have in mind for it. Otherwise, I'd be screwed because the major caveat of this motherboard is the lack of a BIOS flash button. Have a nice peel for your troubles. Beautiful. But since we're good, now is the time to reveal the heart of this machine, which ended up being the AMD Ryzen 5 5600. No, not the 5600X, just the 5600. The price of performance difference was worth it for me. I would have actually gotten it cheaper than what I did, but I'm a huge dumbass and didn't think someone would snag it just because I saved it for last. I guess it's payback for swiping the Mobo. A 6-core 3.5 GHz processor that can boost to 4.4 GHz is just fine by me, as long as I can cool it by conventional means. Sorry, Intel. And good thing this one comes with its own stock cooler, notably the humble AMD Wraith cooler, which actually takes up most of the box, because as seen on the right side of the box, the 5600 is right there in a secure plastic case, while the Wraith cooler is seen in this main box right here, already prepped with some nice thermal paste. Not gonna lie, installing this one made me a bit nervous thanks to the sounds made by the spring-loaded screws. And since my dumbass owns a K70 Mark II keyboard, I would like to have some nice RAM to go along with this gamer boosting power. So I went with 2 thick sticks of Corsair's DDR4 Vengeance RGB Pro series. Specifically the 16GB configuration at CL16, not the usual 18. I'm picky, I guess. Let's open these 1-tab DIMM slots, and with a decent amount of elbow grease, we don't have any M.2 SSDs to install for now or the foreseeable future, so now we've placed everything that can be placed on the motherboard before... Well, wait, before we stick it into the case, we gotta see the case. And the choice for this one, out of an abundance of choices in this world, was the Deepcool CK560 mid-tower case. When you consider how this case looks like this, comes with 3 120mm ARGB fans and 1 rear 140mm fan, a PSU shroud that also hides a removable hard drive bay, 3 different dust filters on the top, bottom, and front, a tempered glass panel with tabs at the bottom for protection, a solid side panel with this much space, and convenience features out the wazoo, all at a price point like this? Yeah, it was a no-brainer. Arriving much earlier than anticipated, here's how the CK560 came. Christ, this thing was bigger and heavier than I thought, and the packaging itself was pretty tight, but it was manageable. Hidden away in the hard drive bay, accessible through the solid side panel, is a bag full of accessories, specifically an ARGB adapter to switch from the built-in controller to direct motherboard control, 11 cable ties, and a ton of unsorted screws, which is unfortunate, but once filtered out, you get the following screws on screen. I won't bore you with every single detail because the Provoked Prawn has already made a thorough vid or two on this case, which is perfect in case you were interested. While I'm thoroughly impressed with everything it came with, I couldn't help but notice that there was space at the top of the case for 2 fans of any size to maximize airflow. I also realized that RGB increases gaming performance, and thus I knew what I had to do. As a completely optional addition to this build, I decided to get a twin pack of Corsair's SP140 RGB fans, which comes with the Lightning Node Core RGB fan hub. Wait a minute, this fan hub has Corsair's proprietary 4-pin connectors, while the daisy-chained Deepcool CF120s that came with the case all have 3-pin JSDSM connectors. What do I do to sync up all the RGB here? The answer is simple. PyroDog Tech. A very nice and useful lad, PyroDog makes and offers different RGB adapters to allow other types of RGB devices to connect to Corsair's hubs and controllers, one of which I have purchased for the purpose of this build, so a special thanks to PyroDog Tech for making this work. I'll show off the results later on in the video. Since all 3 fans have been already conveniently daisy-chained to each other in both terms of power and RGB, all I had to do was disconnect the JST cable going to the case's RGB controller and plug it into the PyroDog adapter, which then went to the Lightning Node Core. But wait, what goes in the PSU shroud? Well, the choice here turned out to be the Corsair RM750 modular PSU, notably the white version. Not so nice peel, but a very nice weight to it, not gonna lie. Not only does it look stunning with these cables in the case, but in contrast to the ARM-X series, there are no in-cable capacitors that get in the way of cable management. And yes, don't worry, this PSU should be more than enough for what's coming next. And now, the final piece of the puzzle, at least for now. The GPU. The big money. With prices slowly coming back down to MSRP seemingly, I had to go for something that will both complement the 5600 and not break the bank. Since my intention from the start was purely just 1080p or maybe even 1440p gaming with some mild video editing, my final decision came in a little Amazon bag and looks like this. This is the Gigabyte Eagle Radeon RX 6700 XT. 3 fans, 12 gigs, and all the power I need. Simple in presentation and simple in installation, sort of. Turns out the Velocita actually has this little tab that you flick open before inserting and removing a GPU, which clicks back in place once inserted. Kind of a pain to access it if you need to remove it. Now we connect everything. Or so I'd say if I didn't secretly put everything on the board and connect the necessary power cables to test it out prior to all this.
Did our structure changed? Okay, so we just hit Y. Oh, hey, we're in. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, these gotta be fixed. And let me see if I can do that. Because this one, oh, so it does have XMP. All right, good. Let's go. Yes, sir. Okay. Okay, yeah, let's make sure that that was off. Where was FTMP? FTPM? Oh, there it is. The AMD CPU FTPM. Yeah, let's disable that because apparently that it didn't like that. It did not like that. Save changes and exit. So yeah, let's do that. There we are. There we go. Now it's reading all of it. There we go. Yeah, I think for ASRock motherboards, I just gotta disable CSM. And then somewhere it'll be 4G encoding, but I'll do that after I install Windows again. So yeah, we'll do that later. For now, let's actually get this into the case.
The case actually already had all 9 motherboard standoffs installed where they needed to be, so all I had to do was put the motherboard in and push in the I/O shield. Or so I thought. The 140mm fan was getting in the way, so I took that out and then I got the Mobo in place, secured with its proper screws.
No, wait, that's not... I don't know about that. Wait a minute, this is a different one. There's a different one. Wait. Because this one doesn't look right. Let me see the thing, if it's supposed to be raised or not. This is raised. Oh, this is a hard drive screw. Yeah, that's the other one I was supposed to replace because there was 6.
After we get in all 9 correct screws, we now remove the second and third replaceable PCIe expansion slots to make room for our decently chunky lad. Deja vu. Gotta also give it some love with this convenient little support bracket which just about reaches it from the default position. Nice. Top fan time. It's always nice to have an extra pair of hands to help screw in while you hold. Alright, looks like they're in place. Now time to put in this... hold on, this is actually thicker than I expected. Let's shift this hard drive bay to its alternate position using the thumb screw here, which is much tighter than you think, so we cheated a bit. Okay, now we can put this lard in. Just hope I don't have to remove it again. And so we connect all the power cables now, including that very difficult to remove motherboard power cable, the extremely tricky to install CPU power cables, still looks like a right mess, but it works, and then just the GPU cables. Alas, a fatal flaw. I should have installed at least one SATA power cable before putting in the PSU in. Out it comes again, and now we can plug that right in. Freaking kill me. With that installed, now let's put our SSD into one of the HDD mounting trays because the screws that came with the SSD won't let me use the rubber holders, and I forgot all about the drive screws that came with the case. Put all 4 through and then realize you put it in backwards. Rescrew, put in. Try to plug in the oddly spaced SATA power cable into your SSD. Ask for an extra pair of hands to hold the wobbly hard drive bay and plug in. Remove it because you're also using your original HDD to transfer your files back onto the SSD after clean installing Windows. Take the entire damn bay out and now plug in those finicky SATA cables. Now spend ages relocating the hole for the bay. Pull through the SATA data cables via the rubber grommets and suffer as your thick GPU barely lets you connect them properly. If you made it to this point of the video and you're early enough to take advantage, thank you! Here's a special discount code for Pirate Dog Tech that works until April 30th, 2023. Now to actually show the installation of the core, a convenient little piece of double-sided 3M tape will be our friend today. Since the support bracket is in a good place and I don't expect to get a somehow smaller GPU in the future, I'll sacrifice the space to place the core right around here. As for the wires themselves, I simply connect them in a sequential order, though it won't exactly be the case for the daisy chain deep cool fans, since you have to realize these are 3 fans connected to 1 adapter. And I am paying almost $11 for each adapter to get a fully sequential effect. Hell, even if I did, I think the programming wouldn't work via iQue, so oh well. Plug the SATA power into the PSU's open spot that I thankfully left right there, and the USB cable to an available header at the bottom. And now, we connect everything. It's my first time building a PC, so cut me some slack on cable management. I really could not see a way to make things better without compromising cables. If you have suggestions, leave them in the comments below. But now, after much struggling, we switch on the power supply, watch the motherboard awaken, and then we give this PC some life. I am extremely happy with how this came out. Even if it's not absolutely perfect by enthusiast standards, the satisfaction of seeing something I built myself is enough to make this worth it. Alright, here's the RGB showcase I mentioned earlier. It's just a super quick showcase of how the RGB in the case, and keyboard, is set up for certain games I play. Not all of them, just a few. You might notice how the pre-installed fans work with the adapter in terms of sequential effects, but I honestly find it alright. If you want to skip it, that's why I leave chapters available. But if not, here's a bit of footage I could grab. Oh yeah, if you were wondering about the performance with the 5600 and the 6700 XT, there is a video that I will link down in the description that shows benchmarks for different games. A lot more popular games than the ones I play, but yeah, it'll give you a good estimate as to how the performance is. At least when everything is set up right. I still had to do the software part of it, and that was a freaking torture. After formatting my SSD and clean installing Windows 10, which luckily let me transfer my digital license from my old PC thanks to being linked to my Microsoft account, I had to then bring back everything that I slapped onto my old HDD via file history, and I am not kidding when I say it took around 3 to 4 hours. To make matters worse, I saw that a good portion of files that were being transferred were actually syncing with OneDrive for no reason at all. So I had to quickly and manually remove them from OneDrive to stop flooding the damn thing. This also took another year off my lifespan. After everything was corrected and all seemed well, it then didn't. iQue was messing up and made me reinstall it several times, even going to the roaming folder to fix whatever the hell was going on, almost deleting all my profiles every time I restarted the damn thing. Most, if not all, programs that I had transferred over to the SSD were actually not installed in Control Panel, thus I had to reinstall them one by one even though the files were already right there, Windows. In the same vein, a couple of drivers weren't installed, thus causing some issues, including a blue screen or 2. Or 4. So I installed all of those and made sure Device Manager didn't know what other devices were. I also went back and disabled XMP in case that was causing instability, and I haven't tried Resize Bar yet because every time I tried doing so by disabling CSM, it would cause this scary effect in the BIOS where everything the cursor followed disappears. Let me know in the comments if you know what the hell is going on here. But seriously, just save yourself the trouble and use a third-party backup program if you're gonna do this. But after all that struggle, it seems the system is somewhat stable for now, though I may very well revisit this a month or so from now just to adjust some things. Namely using a second PCIe cable for the GPU instead of daisy chaining it, since apparently that's better for power draw, and maybe reaccommodating the back. All of this can be contributed to by you guys in the comments. Leave your suggestions and feedback here to help improve this build in whatever way you think is best. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. For now, the build is complete, and my life just got a bit brighter. During the time that I had my old dying pre-built, I had slowly lost touch with some good friends that I had met, and I was unable to enjoy games with the ones I had left, so I'm really hoping that with this new PC, I can finally get back in contact with them and even find new games to enjoy and make some content out of. Just anything to make my day-to-day life the happiest it can be. If you really did watch through all the way, thank you very much, and I really do hope you enjoyed this vid. Have a great day, and I'll see you around.